Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Thursday, January 9th. So, what are we going to talk about? Well, what I thought we'd talk about is kind of your health. I'm not talking going out and jogging and anything else. I'm talking about what do you want to happen if something happens to you? And we're going to cover where you can make decisions to where you can't make decisions, where you put somebody that can make decisions, right? So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back. If you didn't already know it, my name is Eric, and yes, today is the weekday. Today is Thursday, January 9th, 2025. So, what are we talking about? Well, it's what we don't normally want to talk about, and that is at what point. I'm trying to think of where to start with this because there's so many facets. So, let's just grab something and run with it. And that is what happens if you become incapacitated where you can't make decisions about your business, about your health, about any of it. What happens? Have you made anybody that is close to you, have you made them aware of what your wishes are? See, now when it comes to if you're in the hospital and you need someone to make decisions on your behalf because you can't, it's a healthcare proxy. And you want to put somebody down that's got a good head on their shoulders and can handle stress. They may fall over afterwards, but they'll make the right call. And case in point with me, my daughter has always been my healthcare proxy. I shouldn't say always, at least for the last 15 years, because my daughter or my wife has mental health problems, so she's in and out, and she's in right now, where she can't be trusted to make that call. On her good day, yes, she could do it without even thinking twice, but she has more bad days than good. So I can't rely on her to be the one to make decisions. So I chose my daughter. My daughter is very much like me, very methodical. And when I had the warfarin bleed and I was 7 minutes without blood or oxygen to the brain, they called her because she is the healthcare proxy and said, "What do you want us to do? You want us to stop or continue on?" Simple as that. What decision do you want to do? Do you stop the man's life or do you continue and hope for the best? Thank God my daughter chose to continue. Now, this is not putting my son down in any way, but I know that had he been my healthcare proxy and they told him there were good chances I would be a vegetable, he would have said, "Stop here. Dad doesn't want to be a vegetable." You got to have somebody that can make the right calls. She didn't make the right call by worrying about she wanted me around no matter what I was. She made the right call because she knew I have an uncanny knack of being able to rise above, right? Do I still have memory problems? Absolutely. Do I have problems sometimes talking? Yes. Do I do a lot of cuts in videos? Yeah. But I'm here. And most of the time, I can still carry on a conversation. And it didn't change really much in here because I understand everything. It's just trying to speak sometimes and remembering people's names or phone numbers that I normally do. It's petty shit. So if you haven't got a healthcare proxy, you need to do it. You really do. That was probably one of the most important things that I did when it come to my health. And then the next thing is, who is allowed to have information? That's the second layer, okay? They're not making decisions, but they can call to the hospital or to the doctors or to your health center, where have you, and ask questions. And you'll fill out a paper. See, I'm lucky in a sense that the two hospitals and the health center and the urgent care are all under one group, okay? So when I fill out this paperwork, it covers all of them. So no matter if my daughter wants to call one of the four, she has full access to everything. Now, my son, my sister-in-law, they're more limited to, they can call, they can ask, and so forth. They can't make decisions for me if I'm incapacitated. And they can't see billing. My daughter can see it and look at it and decide what she wants to do. Again, we're talking if you're unable to do it for yourself. The second part of it is, if you can do it for yourself and you're in the hospital, can, like, your son call the hospital and ask how you're doing? If he's not on that sheet of paper, that list of people that have access to what's going on with you, the HIPAA law tells the healthcare provider that they cannot release that information. HIPAA laws are good, but most people don't realize that they need to fill out some paperwork ahead of time when things are good. And I can show you what they look like. But you can ask any healthcare provider like that for the form to fill out for people to have access to what's going on with you. And you also have a form to fill out for your healthcare proxy of who makes the decisions when it comes to your health, if you can. They may not seem important right now because everything is great, and this is the perfect time to get it done. Don't wait. If I didn't have this paperwork filled out ahead of time before going into upstate, they would have been looking for a person at the hospital, or they would have had to make the call themselves, the doctors. It didn't sound like they were too promising of the outcome. But I chose the right person for the healthcare proxy. She made the right call. The next thing is, who's going to take care of your business if you're in the hospital? Who can step up and do it? Who's there that can pay your bills for the month? And I have it either me or my daughter. Claude, once I come around enough, because I trust him 110%, okay? There's very few people in life that you can say that about, but I can say it about Claude. He would never do me wrong. And when I come around enough, him and I were talking on the phone back and forth. I said, let me know what bills come in. And then I was telling him what accounts to write the checks from. And then to sign my name. Has he signed my name in the past? Absolutely. He's gotten pretty good at it. But I trust him. You need to have somebody that you can trust. And as long as you're able to communicate, that's a big plus. But if you're a one man band like you, Jason, and you go into the hospital, the best thing to do at that point is close the doors and find someone to cover, and it could be your spouse or one of your kids, one of your daughters, but somebody to pay the bills, like mortgages, heat, lights, you name it. If the bills are coming in, they don't care that you're sick. They don't care if you're on your deathbed. All they care about is they need the money. They want the money, and if not, then they start with threatening calls. I actually had a guy on eBay, okay? And it was over a $15 thing, spool of rope, okay? Ended up being 20 something with shipping, but he gave me a negative feedback. So I asked him, I said, would you be willing to do a revision of the feedback? If I show you a picture of, and the scar was fresh. I mean, I was just out of the hospital. So I sent him a picture of the scar on my leg and on my chest. I said, this is where I've been. He's come back. How do we know you didn't steal that picture, those pictures, from another site somewhere? Over a $20 rope? You know what? I had that negative feedback, as a badge of courage. I responded to it, that I was in ICU, can't ship if I'm not there. And I tried explaining to Claude how to do it, but it was kind of too much. So I said, just let her go. What do you want done with the business if you pass away? I know some of you are going to come back and say, I don't give a rat's ass, I'm gone. But if you have holdings, stuff that has value, you need to, and this could be spelled out in your will. If you haven't got a will, I've had a will since I was in my mid-20s. And the reason we did the will, my wife and I at that time, we did it with just the kids became sole beneficiary if something happened to both of us. If something happened to the one, it went to the other. That's just. But what happens if something happens to you? And now you need to decide, what do you want dispersed? And what do you want maybe given to somebody? See, I have 5 properties. I always say I don't own them because I have to pay taxes on them every year. But 4 of the 5 are bought and paid for. The 5th one, my mortgage here on the house, I could pay off, but at 2.9% interest rate, I'll just keep making the monthly payments. And I like the idea that the taxes are escrowed in, school and land, and the insurances. So instead of trying to set money aside a month, I just send it to the bank, and then they take care of that, right? They pay my insurances on all the property. That's a blanket property. I think it's a $5 million liability, and then you got fire on this place, this garage, up to camp, up to the shop, contents. But that's the other thing, is you want to make sure you have good insurance. But insurance is something in place in case, And I know a lot of people don't get insurance on their houses and stuff. And I've seen people lose everything. But you can spell it out in your will of what you want done. And if something changes, if one of the properties gets sold while you're alive, update your will. If you add another property, update your will. When it comes to what happens if you pass away, and what do you want done with the business? Is there somebody that can continue it on? Is there a way to sell the business as a whole to someone that's looking to get into the repair business? Or do you want an auction and the property's put up for sale? All those things you can spell out in a will. Now, let me tell you, if you're married and you got it set up the way my first wife and I had it, and pretty much my second wife and I had it, if something happens to you, it goes to her, she's still alive, then all your wishes kind of take back seat, right? Because your spouse will inherit everything, and she may look and see what your thoughts were on it, but she's the one that's going to make the decisions, right? It's more so if you're not married or your spouse has passed away ahead of you. Okay? That's simply put. Now, if you have properties or holdings that were prior to the marriage, it's called premarital stuff. And that you can dictate in your will of where it's going. And an example is the home farm where the kids grew up. If something happens to me and my wife is still alive, it automatically, that property gets transferred to them. Because that's what I want to happen. Because I know good chances are that my wife cannot live here alone, right? And endure the North Country weather without help. So good chances are she would put everything up for sale and move back downstate. So when it comes to that stuff, premarital, you can dictate what you want done with that. Everything else will be her call in the end. And when it comes to looking for someone to take over the business as a whole, it's pretty limited to anybody crazy enough to want to get into our industry, right? And you have to realize that if there's an auction, you're going to get pennies on the dollar. People go to auctions to save money. And I'm no different. I've been to a few small engine repair shops auctions of where the owner passed away and the spouse is selling. And I bought a lot of stuff at those auctions. Bought brand new stuff. I don't buy used. I mean, the used stuff here ends up going for scrap anyways. But new, yeah. Oil filters, air filters, spark plugs, any of that stuff that I use a lot. And I remember the last auction, they had like spark plugs. They were selling 144 at a time of one spark plug. Somebody else bought it. And I'm assuming that they're doing either eBay or Amazon, or they have a flea type market in a big area where they get a lot of eyes on stuff and they sell a lot of stuff. But I bought a lot of the cases of oil filters, air filters, new in the box in big boxes, and a lot of the, which was neat, was there was one box with all air filters, oil filters, and so forth for the Honda Foreman. And luck would have it, I own a Honda Foreman. So I took that box and set it aside for my bike, for my four-wheeler. And I didn't give much for it. Just one air filter in there was 3 times what I paid for the whole box. So you have to understand that if you have a dispersal, don't expect to break even on what you have out. I'm hopeful that you're not very far in debt and that the sale of that stuff will bring your business so that family isn't dealing with having to take a loss, right? But those are some of the things that you really need to think about now while you're doing good. Everybody puts off because they think, they're like Superman, that nothing is going to happen to them. Yep. Being immortal. Thinking that, you have a long time ahead of you, where actually we're all very limited when it comes to our time, right? And just look at the children's hospital that's full of people, full of kids that have got cancer, and they're not even old enough to be in high school. So don't tell me it can't happen to you, because there's too many cases that I see that it can. And when the good Lord decides it's your time to go, as I say, you can go kicking and screaming. It's your choice. I know for me, there's got to be something else. I need to be either taught or I have to teach. I don't know what that is, but I'll do my best to continue doing what I'm doing. And hopefully when that time comes of what his expectations are, that I do a good job at it. So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday. We'll see you here bright and early Friday morning. We are going to start doing some more repair videos and stuff. Of course, you guys know I'm limited to what I can do. And I got to teach Claude how to get in front of the camera. It took me a while, right, to learn to be comfortable in front of a camera, where he's still in the infancy of where I used to be. But you guys have a great Thursday. I appreciate you for watching and commenting and being part of your family. All right, thanks so much.